Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Everyday Adventure Show. I'm Steven.
And I'm Nathan.
Still.
He
is still Nathan. This is good. Oh, and we've still got our audience member, Cole.
Woo!
There he is, live audience. This show is recorded in front of a live audience, which is pretty incredible.
Wow.
But how are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little chilly, but how are you doing?
I'm doing good, yeah. We survived the polar vortex, which was on whatever day it was. There was a 120-degree difference between the inside of my house and the outside. It was minus 60 with the wind chill. That was wild, but yeah, it's okay.
I heard your fridge was 100 degrees warmer than it was outside. That just blows my mind.
That blows my mind too. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, right? Anyways, this week we've got some great takeaways.
Awesome. I'm excited. This week what we're talking about is know who you are. We're going to be talking about identity and how identity is so important in living a life to the fullest, is knowing who you are. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about this week.
Yeah. And for me, if you're anything like me, in the past I'm like, I don't need to know all that stuff. That's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, whatever. Not true. The case is, now I'm on the other side where I'm like, actually I find out who I am and like it makes a huge difference. And so I encourage you, if you're anything like the past me, don't turn it off. Keep listening. Tell us, Matt. How do we know who we are?
Well, I think there's a lot of things in knowing who we are. I think one of the most common challenges and the most common thing that we fall into is determining who we are by what we do. That what we do becomes who we are. And so I know for me, the risk of this is drifting away from who I truly am and the expectations that are put on me. The person I need to be in order to be viewed a certain way kind of takes precedence over those things. And for me, what that looked like was I've been a Chi Alpha campus missionary for 5 years now, and that's kind of been my role, my job. Those of you that know about campus ministry is that it's a pretty all-encompassing career, that you do life with students. There's not really an off switch. When you have a family like I do, I think it can kind of become this all-encompassing thing. And the thing I realized was that like I was Chi Alpha Steven. Like, I was what my job kind of made me out to be, and I had to kind of take a step back and look like, no, who is Steven? Like, who has God made Steven to be?
Yeah,
that's kind of been the rediscovery that I've been on lately.
Yeah. If you're really not solid in knowing who you are, it can be so easy to have other people mold and shape you to make you become someone that you don't actually want to be. For me, I've definitely fallen into that double life, that double identity in different areas, and that's all because I wasn't solid in who I was. I didn't know who I was. So It makes a huge difference.
Right. I think when we don't know who we are, it's so easy for what we do, the friends that we hang out with, and these other outside kind of motivations and expectations to kind of make us into who we are. And it should be the other way, that who we are should determine what we do and how we act. And I think of 1 Peter in the Bible, where it talks about these Christians who were being persecuted, and their reminder was, no, remember who you are. You are a royal priesthood. You're a holy nation. You're a chosen people. And this is how, and the fact that you are who you are should determine how you live. And so I think it's just a challenge for us that who we are should determine how we live.
That's really good. So what are some ways that we can give our audience just some practical takeaways of better knowing who they are?
Yeah, I think to make it simple, we have 3 kind of takeaways this week. And the first takeaway is to take a test. Sorry, all of you college students. We're going to have you take another test.
But it's worth
it. For this, what we mean is take like a Strengths Finder, Myers-Briggs, a DISC test, something like that, to just kind of help you understand a little bit more of who you are. Have you taken any of those, and how have they helped you?
I have. I've taken the Myers-Briggs one, some other personality tests, and they really have helped me a lot, because I never realized those were my strengths or that was really a part of who I was until I actually took time to step back and evaluate, yeah, that is actually the way that I think and the way that I operate, which helped me make decisions from there on out all the more, because it's like, oh yeah, this is who I am.
What would you say to the haters on those tests? Like, I don't need to take those tests are lame.
I would tell you that I used to be one of those haters, and I used to have the same mindset. But now, being able to grow in that, I'm able to look back and like, honestly, it's helped my life in ways that like I can't even really describe. It's just there's just such a confidence in knowing, yeah, like this is who I am. Like now, when it comes between making two decisions, it's easier because like, oh well, I know like I'm gonna operate better in this because these are my strengths. This is the core of who I am.
Cool. Yeah, and I took the Strengths Finder test, and I remember being just like blown away that I was like, that is me. And my number one strength is woo, which means winning others over. And what it helped me understand is that strengths come with weaknesses. That part of being woo is you have this ability to kind of work a crowd, to get into a room, and your personality kind of takes over, and you meet people, and you're on to the next person. What I struggled with, and I realized, is that I have a hard time maintaining long-distance relationships and long-term relationships, and so I've had to work at that, but it's helped by knowing myself. And the second takeaway is take inventory. What does that mean?
Take inventory is basically, honestly, it's kind of just taking time to actually evaluate who you are. I always like to think about, God, when he was creating the world, after each day, he took time to see whether or not it was good. And so taking that inventory is really just being able to see, like, man, is overall, like, am I happy with who I am? Or, like, are there things in me that I'm not happy about? Are there things that, like, would be better if it was changed? That's just kind of the way that I see taking inventory.
Right, and I think part of that is asking some questions, like, what energizes me?
Yep.
What brings me to life? What, gives me a great sense of purpose? And I think when you answer those questions and you write those things down, it'll help you kind of understand and rediscover who you are. And that kind of leads us to our third takeaway, which is this, is take it to God. That this is the biggest thing that we can tell you to do, is just take it to the Lord and say, God, what is, like, who am I? Who have you made me to be? And every time we do that, he takes us up on that.
That's so true. Yeah, just asking him to search our heart, and then just listening for God to come and speak to us, and he totally will when we actually take time to genuinely ask him and wait on him.
Right, and I think of even in the last few months, I've been doing this more and more. I've just realized, like, it's so easy to kind of drift away from who I truly am, and what I've had to do is just say, God, who is it that you made me to be? And he's been reminding me of stories from when I'm a little kid, even like funny stories that have just kind of reminded me that before I was a pastor, before I was a dad, before I was a husband, I was this person that God created in his image with all these wonderful things inside that I've allowed to kind of get crowded out by the person I thought I was supposed to be. And so it's so important to know who you are. And so these three things: take a test, take inventory, take it to God. And one really big thing is that in order to do all this, you have to just slow down.
Yep.
You have to create space in your life to actually have these conversations, to actually do this, to determine and to come before the Lord and say, who am I? And the other thing with this is don't let who you are be an excuse for not growing.
Oh my goodness.
Like, we don't want to hear, like,
person.
Oh, that's just who I am. Like, when you're being a jerk. Like, don't do that. Just, like, admit, like, hey, I need to grow in this area. It may be kind of how I lean, but I know that God has something better for me. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully this all makes sense, to know who you are in order to live your life to the fullest.
Absolutely. And if you have questions, feel free to email us at everydayadventure@gmail.com. Send us a message on our Instagram, evdayadventure. Use the hashtag evdayadventure as well. Keep sending in stories of how no Netflix went last week. Super, super awesome challenge. And are you guys up for another challenge this week?
I think that brings us to the wheel of adventure. The adventure. He's up too high again.
Look at that.
Oh, okay.
There he is.
There he is. There's
The headless wheelman.
There's wheel boy Ryan.
Hello.
All right, Ryan.
Alright.
Are you ready for us to spin the wheel? This
I'm
week?
ready. Are you gonna make it land so I don't have to shake it again?
Yeah. Here we go. So that's a good spin.
That was a really good spin. Ooh.
Snail mail.
Snail mail. This is what I'm really excited about.
That was my snail. That was my snail impression.
Oh.
The snail mail challenge is this: we want you to be a little bit old-fashioned and actually take time to think about somebody that has made a great impact on your life that maybe you don't talk to very often, and take the time to write them a letter and then put it in an envelope, buy a stamp, and send it to them.
Where do I buy stamps?
At the grocery store, post office,
Good to
many places you can buy stamps.
NDSU postage office. You might.
Alright, Wheelboy Ryan, you can go.
We just need you to hold the wheel. We'll do the talking.
Yeah, easy on the advice there, Wheelboy.
Every day's an adventure.
Just kidding. We love you, Ryan. We appreciate you. But yeah, so do this. Take the snail mail challenge. Write a letter to somebody, send it to them. I guarantee you it's going to bless them, and it's going to bless you as well when you just take that time to think that way, to write that letter. So we challenge you to do that. Let us know at Everyday Adventure on Instagram, Everyday Challenge, hashtag. So do those things, and remember.
Every day's an adventure.
And also subscribe to this channel. Share it with your friends.
That's
Follow
also a
us
good
on
idea.
Instagram at Everyday Adventure, and we'll see you next week.
Every day's an adventure.